just to pay homage to him.
We have always been the prize because we have always had and still have something that other people won't, think they can't do without, and don't care to pay for. Because we have always been the prize, we have been under siege for over 3,000 years. Nothing that ever brought into Africa from the outside was meant to do the African any good.
She made me to know my history, to know my roots. So I grew up with a love for myself and secure within myself, never feeling inferior and certainly not feeling superior, but that chip on the shoulder that the young lady spoke about is my self-assurance, my confidence, my ability to speak the truth without fear. I don't bend when I don't have to. I don't scratch where I don't itch. I look white people in the eye and speak honestly and truthfully and candidly and unhypocritically to you. That's not a chip. That's just self-assurance that comes from self-knowledge. Teach your children that, and whether we are here or there, we'll be able to make a future for ourselves.
Who are you? You don't know? Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now?
In fact, recently, some lot of garbage is written in books by people who call themselves historians, make them appear as if we have to thank Lyndon Baines Johnson for the advancement because he signed the Civil Rights Bill. Of course he signed it, but while he was signing it, we were in the streets burning the country down. You better hurry up and sign it. Burn the whole country down. Do it quick. But if you're not careful, you will thank Lyndon Baines Johnson.
I say now, give us that poetry on number 7. He wanted to go to heaven, so I took him in 7. You took him in 7. I am the king of the world. Hold it. I'm pretty. Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
So we always say the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Melanated Power Hour. I'm your host, Sam Polk Jr. So honored, so thankful, so blessed to have you back with us one more time as we discuss issues pertinent to the African Diaspora. And once again, for those who are new to the show, the African Diaspora is anywhere that black people may be, whether it be Jackson, Mississippi, Nashville, Tennessee, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Barbados, you name it. We recognize those places as our homes away from home, but we also recognize the fact that we are indeed African, and the continent of Africa is our home indeed. I am joined again by the man, the myth, the legend, the funniest man I know, comedian Just Will. What say you, my brother?
My brother, man. It's been a while, man. It's been a few weeks. A lot's done happened since then, man. I had a birthday and went down appreciate it. Went down to Jerry's World, man. And then toured.
He let you in?
Yeah. You got in there, and that's what's so fun. Cause I'm a big Cowboy fan. I am, because I've enjoyed the players and the coaches that came through there and all that kind of stuff, man. Mm-hmm. And then I see some stuff, man, and I wasn't surprised by it. I mean, because it is what it is, man. I mean, that's what they did, you know. And the only thing and I don't know what because I haven't really looked into it, man, and I don't know what he said about it or whatnot. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's trying to say, I was young and all that, BS, because I mean, he's gonna have to save face because I mean, dude, I
got the perfect way for him to save face. Just save it. Stick a pin in it.
Stick a pin in it.
Okay,
Okay,
but go ahead. Go ahead.
But you know, and I, because I was down there and I was like, wow, this is great. You know, I was just enjoying it, walking around the stadium and everything, and having a good time. You know, as a Cowboy fan would do. But then as soon as I get home, they're like, hey, you see what your owner did? Yeah. I was like, God dang, man.
You didn't run into him.
I'm pretty sure he ain't going in the hiding. You know, white people got money.
Man, he don't care.
Yeah, he don't care. Yeah. So it is what it is.
You
man.
still gonna watch the Cowboys.
Yeah.
His team still gonna play and making money. He ain't worried about nothing, man.
Yep.
He ain't worried about nothing.
At all.
But I was just about to say, I'm surprised you surprised until you said, but I wasn't surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised. Good. That's the only part I was worried about. That's the only part I was worried about.
Man, we and I don't know if you want to jump right into the show today or not, man. But it's been a lot of talking going on, man, and you know,
I think I know where you.
Well, I'm gonna say this because I know you went somewhere here recently, and I know you want to talk about that.
Okay.
Basically, was the Soul Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my favorite football game. I look forward to it every year. The second it's over, I'm looking forward and making preparations to go to next year. And for anybody unfamiliar with the Soul Bowl, that is a Mississippi Classic. That is Jackson State University versus Alcorn State University. And whether it's in Jackson or in Lorman, I'm always going to be there, God willing. And it's a throwback. It's a old school 80s, 70s, what you hear about from old heads about how it used to be. That game is like going back in time. Field to capacity. There are people everywhere. I'll give you an example. I say about 10 p.m. Friday night, there were people camping on campus.
Oh, wow.
Because you can't get in after a certain time. It's just so much traffic. One way in, one way out. And there are people from all over the state of Mississippi.
Oh, so that's what this picture is right here?
Yeah, just people camping out outside of the stadium because you want to be there because you ain't going to get in if you don't get started.
And it was cold out there, too, wasn't it?
It was cold. And I told my wife, look, we got to be headed out. We in a hotel, not but about an hour and a half away from it. But I'm telling her, you know, hey, if we don't get out of here about 7 a.m., we might well stay up in here. Watch, I'm telling you now. So, and she wasn't happy about it.
I could just because I know you, Sam, so I can only imagine how that you said. I'm telling you now.
Hey,
look, we got to be gone.
We got to be gone.
And you were serious about that.
I was serious, and we might well just stay up in here watching on TV. It's just that's how serious it is. But we got lucky and hit the Natchez Trace and cut about 40 minutes off of it and got there in time enough to park on side of the highway and walk about 2 miles to the campus. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's how many people were out there. And great game. Travis Hunter, the #1 high school recruit, 5-star, he really showed out. And he really looked like he was at 100%, even though they say he still isn't. He had a pick six that looked just like Deion. And he caught a touchdown pass on offense in the corner of the end zone where he dragged the back foot.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, man, just amazing. And Alcorn fought hard. It's like that that rival that you have or that neighbor that you have that you can't stand. Yeah, you just can't stand. If we don't beat nobody else, we got to beat these jokers. You're going to have to hear about it. You know what I'm saying? Because it truly is one of those community rivalries where you know somebody that went there and they're going to let you have it all year. But we pulled it out and earned a
How was the band?
Just a battle, a throwback where they come in there just playing, going at it. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I hate about this modern times is the Jumbotron where they have all these commercials that they play. I ain't come to hear that shit, man. I can hear that in the car. I can hear that. Man, let me hear them band. They going at it just like the football team, just a straight competition, you know.
Hey, man, let me ask something real quick. The band, because I wanted to ask it since I seen it, man. Shiloh, did Is he officially a member of the Boom?
No, but if they would let him, I guarantee he would play a halftime. He has a love for the bands
because he is super hype about that.
He's one of those people who is just now discovering it, and he's like, man, this is incredible. I never seen nothing like this.
You know, he bought a
Mace.
Yeah, a Mace. Yeah,
and also he's a musician. He can play the piano.
For real?
Like classically, yeah. So I think they have respect for him because he has appreciation of the music. And he came out one time marching like a drum major. But you know what?
He did that when he caught an interception, though.
Yeah. And that's cool after you catch an interception, but you ain't finna perform at halftime like that. You know,
he want to, though.
Yeah, he want to, but they won't let him. But yeah, and that's just a example of how infectious HBCU culture. You cannot buy that culture, and it's one of those things where kids who weren't permitted to see it or even to be allowed to know that it existed in certain situations, you know what I'm saying, when they see it, they hook. You know what I mean? And that's one advantage that we have over our rivals in terms of recruiting. If you can just get them there to one of these type of games or one of the homecomings, hey, man, it's hard to beat that. But go ahead.
I got a picture of somebody that I want to talk about.
Okay.
And that's Coach Prime.
Absolutely.
And
who, by the way,
go ahead,
is my favorite NFL player of all time. And I still wake up in the middle of the night and be like, did I dream that? Is he Jackson State's head coach? Yeah, he sure is. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's still 2 years later. It's still I can't wrap my head around it. But go ahead.
Well, it's funny you say that because there's been a lot of talk about Coach Prime going to Colorado.
You
know, first of all, I've seen a lot of talk about it. I heard some rumblings about it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah. Well, which part? The talking or the him going?
Him going.
Nobody knows that. But what we do know is that there has been an offer made by the University of Colorado for about $5.6 to $6 million. That's real money. And they say they want to answer by December 5th, which puts you in a real precarious situation because if we do defeat Southern this Saturday, that gives us the right to play the MEAC champion in the Celebration Bowl. And that's December the 17th. And, usually the way this thing works, you take another job, you're not there for the bowl game. The other part is you've already whooped Southern once. You playing them again because they kind of backdoored their way into the championship because some other people lost. That's got to be a hell of a distraction for 18 to 22-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? Almost the ultimate trap game. And I'm not kind of happy about how the timing of it, but that's the price of the ticket. You know what I'm saying? So we can confirm that the offer has been made. Now, I will say this. He has been on many interviews. From last year, he interviewed with TCU and Colorado State, it was reported. This year, there have been others, USC, University of Central Florida, Colorado. This is the first one that have made him an offer. So it changes things a little bit. So, I mean, you're talking about a man that's making about $400,000 now. And he just got offered 5.6 up until $6 million. So, I mean, is what it is. Now, nobody on planet Earth knows what he's going to do except him. And, that's the world we're living in now because you hear a lot of SWAC fans, MEAC fans, HBCU football fans.
Because I know you're a Jackson State fan. Does it make you mad?
Well, stick a pin in it. Let me put this in first. You hear a lot of SWAC, MEAC, HBCU football fans talking about we want to raise our stock up enough to be at the Group of Five or the Power Five level, right? Are you sure? Because if you get there and you're successful, that's what you're going to have to deal with. Alabama fans are on pins and needles every day worrying about somebody taking their coach. And if you're wondering about the $2 million raises he get every other year, why you think he get them? Because somebody done made him an offer for more than you paying him. And that's we gave him a $2 million raise. The alumni in Alabama saw Nick Saban buy a house. He got many of them. He just bought a house for $3 million. Do you know they raised the money to pay that house off? Because they want to keep him happy and keep him there. You see what I'm saying? This how that works. The college rarely pays that whole salary because they're state employees. There's only so much you can pay them. Where you think that other money come from? It come from alumni, donating, boosters. That's a game I don't know if you're really ready to play because you say you want that, but it's like dating that dime piece. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you ain't the only one that want it, bro. And
they gonna come for it every day.
Every day. So the price of being ultra successful in college football, you in a territory you ain't never had to really deal with. Now everybody wants you. Now when you was watching the ESPN and you saw how everybody else fighting over this Florida's coach or fighting over Notre Dame, you didn't think nothing about it. Because didn't nobody want your coach. You understand what I'm saying? No offense, but who trying to steal Eddie George from you understand what I'm saying? No offense, but that just come with it. That's what it, and it's a good problem to have. That's because you're doing something right when somebody wants to poach, one of your coaches. Go ahead.
But back to you though, like, why now? Like, I mean, why? Okay, first of all, we can stick a pin in that too.
Okay.
But I guess my biggest thing is because I'm with the whole the black college football thing. Mm-hmm. That's not just something we say.
That's our culture.
Yeah, that's not just something we say. That's so. When you come out here and don't get me wrong, I get it, man. Money's a powerful thing. It is. Because I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. You know what I'm saying? I'm not.
No, go ahead.
But
it ain't never stopped you before. Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about some why now. Nah, go ahead.
But it's like this, man. For the culture, man. I mean, he's done a lot in that area. Not just that area, but just for black college football. Period.
Priceless what he's done. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not even gonna say that because I can't just put that. I mean, he had a heavy influence on what he's done. It was him. I give him that. But we as people got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether he's there or not, we got to keep that going.
Absolutely.
And if he does go or he stays, it's not on him. Black college has been here before he was there. It'll be here after him. And it's up to us as individuals, as fans, as former players. We have to keep that going.
Yeah.
And me personally, I would love to see him stay. But there's a piece of me that kind of understands, there's other people involved, and I can't just say, well, how much money do you need? Because it's not just him. So, because we talked about this before. And with the coaches, there's a lot of coaches on his staff. Now, would they get to go too?
If you take your staff with you if you want them, but only he know that you take the ones with you that you want, or you take them all.
That's what I'm saying.
The thing is, the staff he had last year, a couple of them ain't there now because they wasn't getting the job done. You see what I'm saying? It'll be the ones that you want. And if you got a budget like that, you can fill in them gaps. I think you was trying to ask me earlier, did it make me mad?
Yeah.
Would it make me mad if he left? Okay, you got two type of football fans. You have the ultimate definition of the word fanatic, which means I don't know a damn thing about football. I just know who I want to win.
Right.
I'm super happy when we win. I'm irrationally upset when we lose. And then you have the football guy. And I experienced this with boxing. I can't talk boxing with somebody that don't understand it or ain't at least willing to listen.
Right.
So you can learn enough so we can talk about
Have a
it.
conversation, right?
You know how difficult it is to talk to a person that's a fan of this team or team A and they don't know anything about football.
I do it every day.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point now where I don't do it. I just walk off.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of things that people say. Even when we talk about the Cowboys and you tell me, well, why don't they put this player and they ought to make this player do this? And I even had somebody say, well, Michael Parsons ought to just put him in the backfield. Dude, come on.
Yeah,
man.
right.
Don't say that.
Take your dentist and put him in the courtroom and let him defend your murder trial.
Right.
It's that ridiculous.
Man.
But you just, when you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
But because I'm a football guy and I've been involved with football since I was 3 years old, I understand certain parts of it that allows me not to be mad.
Right.
Because I understand how this thing works, and almost like I always say, I can't believe you're surprised. Now, there's several ways of looking at it. How you want to look at it? Do you want to look at it from the straight football business side of it, or do you want to look at it as me being a person who is a native Jackson, Mississippian?
I want both sides.
Okay.
Because I want that's what I want. I want the little boy who grew up going to the games, who's seen his favorite player finally coaching his favorite college.
Well, okay. Let me give you, so it won't sound crazy, let me give you the football guy first.
Okay.
That knows what he's watching happen. The way this thing works, at the basis level, it's kind of like your job or anybody else that's listening, their job. When you are good at something, you show up every day, you do your best, and you're rewarded financially up until that said company can't give you any more money.
Right.
And then you look for other opportunities to make even more, because can't anybody just do what you do.
Right.
You can't hire a monkey to do what you do. You ain't just sweeping floors. You doing something that a very small population can do at the level you do it. Thinking about it from that standpoint of it, the football guy knows that you deserve that. And it's just the real world. It's how it works. There's no need to worry and get upset over things you can't control, because look, the man has brought I think it was estimated a $30 to $40 million economic impact to the city. The school can't pay him no more than they done paid him, because they state employees, and this is what the salary is, says the state. Where would that other money come from? It will come from places like I described earlier, boosters, alumni. If you really want them, that's how the game works. You understand?
That's what you got to do.
So you got these business owners that have seen this economic impact at the tune of about $30 million. If they could just take 3% of that and allocate that or earmark that for the athletic department, i.e. coaches' salaries. If what he's saying is true, that could be enough to give his staff a $75,000, $90,000 raise. You know what I'm saying? And we may, to give him something like that would be like, that ain't, you know what I'm saying? It's almost more of an insult, but you say you want your coaches paid, then that's how you get that done. But the football guy in me that knows how this works, I still don't get worried about it. You know why? Because we are at a disadvantage when faced in any kind of competition other than the field, and sometimes the field with PWIs, because you never gonna win that economic battle. What's gonna happen when it become public that we done raised $2 million? What are they gonna do? They can throw it here like playing Uno. Here's another $2 million. You ain't never gonna beat them. They gonna be, oh, that's cute. Them Negroes raised $2 million. Ain't that something? We'll give you 5 more. You never gonna win that. So if what he says is true, you just gotta sit back, enjoy it, and when he leave, because you never gonna be able to catch up with them financially. You just ain't gonna do it. And all the talk from day to day of rumors of him being here interviewing, rumors of him being interviewed. Number one, it probably ain't a rumor. And number two, you ain't taking no interviews if you ain't interested. That just is what it is, right? Now,
I'm not taking an interview if I'm not interested.
If he and sometimes you do it out of faith. You may not be interested in the job, but you're doing it for a favor for somebody who's told their people, hey, I can get this guy in here. And it's kind of like you going to not make him look bad because you may need him later on down the line.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like I said, it's a good problem to have. You want Sooners coming after your coach because they only coming after him for one reason. It's because he's ultra successful. You understand what I'm saying? Now, you want to hear the fan in me?
Yes.
Okay. The fan in me, like Mike Jones said, I remember when what was the Mike Jones song?
Back then, didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me.
I can name all the schools that he interviewed for, one of which, the last one, with help from Jerry Jones, and that's the school he went to, Arkansas. None of them wanted him. In fact, if you can remember, it seemed like 1,000 years ago, but it was just, what was it, 2000?
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2020, or the very end of 2020, when he got the offer from Jackson State, it was a laughingstock. And that's when I started talking on the show about this is an experiment that's finna work, and if it worked, it's going to blow the socks off of everybody that's into this kind of stuff. I could see it finna happen because it's what I had wanted. And not necessarily, I didn't even envision him. I was thinking about, we'll name some names with some other folks, but even black colleges was making fun of it. This man ain't never been a head coach in a college. This ain't going to work. And then when it started to work, watch how things change. Now, I remember, because I got a good memory, I remember what you told us. And I remember you wanted us to believe. And we certainly did. And you made a lot of promises. But the thing is, I have no problem with you bettering your professional career or your family's life, right? The only problem I have with it is when anybody put God in something. And when something beyond the horizon presents itself, God kind of disappeared a little bit. And this is what I mean. When he gave that initial speech, now let's face it, he takes the Jack State job because it's the only job offered to him. Nobody else wanted to hire him. Now, you could have been looking at it as this is a stepping stone to something greater. If you had said that, well, hey, it ain't nothing to get mad at, is it?
Right.
What did he say? He said, I want you to believe that I can fill this stadium up every week, every Saturday. I want you to believe I can put players in the NFL. I want you to believe that I can eradicate violence out of Jackson because I got everybody believing in something positive. I want you to believe. And before the end, we was all like, yeah, we believe. And I'd be damned if he didn't do some of that stuff. He brought a stadium, he brought this, he brought that, he brought this. He said that he thought about taking his job for a long time because it ain't what he wanted. He wanted Florida State. He wanted Arkansas. He wanted, the big Power 5 because that's where he come from. Right. He had to learn about HBCUs because it was really his culture. When he started to look at it, he was like, hey, man, this ain't right, and I'm the man to fix some of this stuff. He also said that the only reason he took the job is because God called him collect, and he accepted the charges. And God gave him an assignment and said you can't leave until the assignment is finished. And the assignment is leveling the playing field. The fact that your coaches at a black school don't make as much as at the PWIs. In fact, you as a head coach don't make as much as assistants at the PWIs. What does that tell you?
That's not leveling the playing field.
It ain't level, is it? So if God told you to come and you leave before you level the playing field, did he tell you could leave? I'm just saying now. I'm just asking the question, right? You can do what you want to do, because we've been here and gonna be here. But I'm just going by what you said. You understand what I'm saying? So that's kind of tricky. The other thing is, I don't care if you go, it's how you go. Number one, do you take the first offer that's given to you? Because I'm just gonna tell you, Colorado is a bullshit job. They ain't had a winning season since they joined the Pac-12. I think they 1-10 this year. It's in the cold. It ain't 1990 no more. That Colorado shit ain't happening. And your persona, what you building at Jackson State,
ain't gonna work.
That ain't gonna translate up there.
No.
Because what you don't really want to, what the haters don't want to really understand is that that's a 50-50 thing, where he got this energy, right, and it fizzles out if he sent it out there and it don't bounce back to him. When you see him in that stadium and that chant, "Who is swag?" Hey man, 50% of that is Negroes. We giving that back to go try that at Colorado. You ain't gonna get nobody to pull their hands out their pocket because they're too goddamn cold. It ain't gonna work. It's gonna look fake. It's gonna look like you trying to.
It's not going. It's
authentic. You understand
right,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
Get your money, but don't do that. Number two, I know how this thing works, man. We've seen it 1,000 times. It happened with Willie Taggart. It happened with Charlie Strong. These master recruiters who were defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators under big white coaches. And this was the secret sauce to their success in winning national championships. So when they finally get a shot at coaching at a smaller tier school, these big white schools like the University of Texas bring them in there to be a head coach for 2 years. Why? To build that roster back up, because he's a master recruiter. And when you get the team looking like you want it, what do? Fire him and hire the white man that you always wanted to. Because maybe he wasn't ready to come yet, or he was still coaching, had a contract that they was too much of a buyout or whatever. That's what happened to Charlie Strong. The success that you see the University of Texas having now, Charlie Strong built that. It ain't quite materialized to spell out national championship, but you see what I mean, right? Mm-hmm. What's going to happen if he take the Colorado job? What I believe will happen is he'll go there, he'll stay 2-3 years. He'll take Travis Hunter with him. He'll take his sons with him. He'll take all of the players that he can get scholarships for him, and they can meet those transfer requirements up there with him. He'll recruit the same way he been doing. He prime time. You ain't going to beat him recruiting. He going to build that team up, and they're going to find a reason to get rid of him and bring a white man in there. And then what? You see what I'm saying? But you got a chance now to stay where you are and build something strong. I understand what you're saying about your coaches. And a part of me believes that he taking them interviews to get his coaches' jobs don't mean he coming with them. You see what I'm saying? That's smart too. But that part about getting your coaches paid, I sure understand that. You knew what you was getting into when you took this job. You knew we couldn't pay them but so much. And you didn't mention nothing about that when you told us about what God told you the assignment was. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just telling you, hey, that's the fan in me though. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about it.
Let me ask you this. If you could talk to him and you had one chance just to get him to stay, what would you say?
What I would say is, first of all, let me say this. If he leave tomorrow and he coaching Colorado or whoever else next year, I'm going to support him. One thing I ain't going to be able to, I support you from afar, I can't watch it. If you take one player from Jackson State that you brought over there, I can't watch it. It'll be like watching my wife cook in somebody else's kitchen. You understand what I'm saying? Because you convince these young men to do the different thing. You convince them to step out in uncharted territory in terms of the modern context. You told 3, 4, and 5-star and 1 5-star, don't do what everybody else do. Don't go to the white institution because that's what you're supposed to do. Come to the black one. You can't take all of them with you. So how do you justify you doing the opposite of that? You understand what I'm saying? But it's different when you thought that was the only place you could be. Now, you know, when everybody wants you, it's kind of different. That money, it may change some things. Again, you're a grown man. Do what you want to do, but that's where I'm going to have a problem with it. Because, look, man, you convinced Travis Hunter, the #1 recruit, 5-star, the highest ranking recruit of any HBCU has ever had. I got to keep saying this in the modern context because you can't tell me Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Steve McNair wasn't 5-star. They just didn't have them rankings. So you convinced him, hey, man, do something different. I need you for the culture to come where I'm at. Not only will I coach you, but think about what it says culturally to these little kids that got the same kind of talent coming up behind you. And also, the 4-star recruits, the 3-star recruits, it's going to tell them it's okay. And they'll come too. And that 5 stars are rare. You can't build it unless you're Alabama. You can't build. See, this is why I can't talk football with people that don't understand football. Now that we as HBCUs are starting to get, we got 1 5-star recruit, we got a couple 4-star. You'll hear people in the stand like, oh, yeah, he ain't nothing but a 1-star. He ain't nothing but a 2-star. Do you know what 85% of that team ain't no stars, even at Alabama. You know what 5-star mean? 5-star mean if that boy don't get hurt, he going to be in the Hall of Fame. 4-star mean if that boy don't get hurt, he going to get drafted #1 to have a great career. 3-star mean if that boy don't get hurt, he's going to play in the NFL. 2-star, if he don't get hurt, he'll probably a short career in the NFL, but he's good enough to get there and make some millions. You see what I'm saying? All the way down to 1. And then after 1, you could have somebody that's a step away from 1 that will play. But when you don't understand, it's like talking to somebody that don't understand the game, and they hear somebody run a 4.6 and they talk about he's slow.
Yeah.
But they say that because they watch the NFL and that's all they watch, and they always hearing 4.3, 4.2. You see what I'm saying? So
you know, somebody told me I was slow, and I ran a 4.5.
Because they don't understand. They've been watching Randy Moss and they keep hearing 4.2. You see what I'm saying? So the whole star thing, they don't understand it. But anyway, he convinced a 5-star to come there. And he's been there. And everything that you convinced him, the second, not when God told you, but the second somebody offer you a $5 million check, not only do you leave, you take him with you and the rest of them. I'm sorry, I'm going to have a problem with that. I ain't going to have no problem with you going, but listen, you asked me what would I say to him. This is what I would say to him. I say, what did you tell Travis Hunter to convince him to come to Jackson State? And I listen to him. And the second he get through talking, I use them same words on him. And I say, it's time for you to be Travis Hunter. It's time for you to do something different. Break the chain. Break the cycle. Just because you've reached a certain level of success that makes them want you, don't mean you got to take their money and go over there. You do something different. You be Travis Hunter. Your turn. You done convinced all these young men to come here. And before you leave them, before you drag them away from here, when half of your recruiting pitch was playing in front of 60,000 black faces, dragging them over there to play for 60,000 white faces. Before you do that, remember what you told Travis Hunter and tell it to your goddamn self and do something different. That's what I would say. Not that he would care, but that's the fan in me. That ain't the football businessman in me.
Why is there such an attack on black colleges?
Because the pandemic.
Because this is an attack.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely an attack. What people don't, whether you don't realize it or not, it's an attack. When you see, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, because my thing is, when you see our institutes, you know, attracting attention the way they are now. When you see, like you said, a 5-star going to, it may not be now, but I'm not gonna say that because the only difference between our institutes and what you call them, the Power
Five.
is the trenches.
Yeah,
that's the only difference because skill positions, there ain't no way in that we'll eat them alive in 7-on-7.
But see, not to cut you off, you can jump right back in there. But when you talk about leveling the playing field, leveling it on the actual football field, like what Coach Prime is doing, that's the easy part. We talking about the infrastructure. We talking about the salary of coaches. You talking about schools that have 4,000-5,000 students,
right?
Compared to a school that got 30,000 students. Even if we got rich alumni, they can't give at the same rate
that they can give.
Honestly, if you said that your assignment was to level the playing field, guess what? That's a lifetime job. Because I don't give a damn if you coach the rest of your life. You ain't leveling this playing field. You too behind the eight ball. But I get the intent, and the intent is worthy of tribute. And that's the thing that's going to make you legendary, that you did that. But go ahead. Or you set it up for the next group to do it. But go ahead.
And that's the thing, man. Like, and like you said, that's a lifetime commitment. But think about this, Sam. And this is coming from where I'm coming. You showed me some film from back in the day of how it used to be. When FAMU was beating up on the University of Miami. Beating on the University of Florida. I want to see that now.
If they leave him alone, it's coming.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. What people don't understand is that I don't know how many of them are praising his X's and O's. They're praising his recruiting, and they're praising the way that he can connect with fan bases to get on the bandwagon and support this thing.
I'm not even just the fan base, the kids. Have you seen the way he's connected? When I hear him talk, it puts me back in that office with Coach Buford. Dude, that you not getting that at those big and I dude, it's.
But here's the thing. You mad because he got a 5-star. You burning his jerseys. You unretire his number and all that kind of stuff. If you want to break up something, a lot of the times, how do you do it? The person that's in your way of getting what you want, you offer them what they want and slide them on out of the way. You see what I'm saying? So finally offering him a job, not saying he ain't qualified at all, that ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying, the motive, why Colorado? They don't care about Colorado. Just if he want to pay his coaching staff, give him the goddamn money, get him out the way and if whatever recruiting he does, he's doing it for our benefit. If you build Colorado back up, you building us up. But I don't want to see no more HBCUs getting no 5 stars, getting no 4 stars. I'm tired of cutting on my TV and they on here every goddamn Saturday. I hate this. Let's go back to it. What started this? Him. Get him out of there. Get him what he want and get him out of the way. So a lot of this recruit to get him is to get him to stop the forward momentum that has been building. Remember, there ain't no Eddie George at Tennessee State without him. There ain't no Hugh Jackson at Grambling without him. And all this talk of Eddie George and Cam Newton and Ray Lewis coming in, it's him that did that. How do you stop it? You get him away from it, and you kind of make it look like, hey, man, well, I was just a shyster anyway. I just told y'all what y'all wanted to hear. I made it look good for a couple of years, and then I finally got what I wanted, and I'm out of there. You see what I'm saying? It just breaks the momentum. And what I really want to say is beware of what you're seeing and ain't what you're seeing. Because I hear a lot of people, the business side of, he getting a better opportunity. Says who? Because all they got over us is money, and he already got that.
Right.
So his coaching staff you understood that when you took this job and said you had an assignment. What changed? The money. You understand what I'm saying? And I ain't mad at that. But what I'm saying is, do what you ask them young men to do and do something different. You understand what I'm saying? So those coaches can get paid the old-fashioned way. You know what that was? Being a part of a coaching tree that won championships. Look at Nick Saban. All his assistants end up getting multi-million-dollar contracts as head coaches. That's the route to get them paid. You see what I'm saying? You just reload your coaching staff. But don't I'm going to leave that alone. Because we just talking anyway, and he might not be going nowhere. You see what I'm saying? But go ahead.
What happens in the end?
Huh?
What happens in the end?
In terms of specify.
At the end of the day,
if he leaves,
if he leaves, what happens?
Same thing. The same thing is gonna happen that has been happening since 1892. We're gonna keep playing football. We're gonna keep supporting our teams and our schools, and we're gonna keep trying to beat the hell out of whoever we are on the field with. Ain't nothing gonna change in terms of that. Tennessee State ain't gonna disappear like what was the movie with Thanos, the end game. Lane College ain't gonna just vanish and disappear. You ain't been on ESPN. You understand what I'm saying? But hopefully the lessons that you've learned, the lesson that he taught you about how this thing is supposed, the level of football didn't increase because the level of coaching didn't increase. The nepotism, stop hiring your uncle, stop hiring your aunt's son as your offensive coordinator just because that's your aunt's son. You see what I'm saying? The accountability, like playing in these classics and you ain't getting adequately paid, or playing in a classic that started in 1991 and you ain't redone the contract in 30-something years as if the value of the dollar hadn't increased or decreased. You understand what I'm saying? Right. He taught you that stuff. Sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to teach you that. But understand that the renaissance in the culture of HBCUs is brought about primarily because of the pandemic and the summer of George Floyd. You see what I'm saying? In a lot of aspects, that's what made Coach Prime open to taking the job, because it sparked an interest in us, in everything black. And we got a chance to sit down as the pandemic slowed us up, look at what was going on, and say, do I really want to contribute? Because if, say, for instance, he go to South Florida or he go to Colorado, who's going to benefit financially from that?
They are.
Okay. If you really want to make a difference, sometimes you got to make the move that will make the biggest impact. And there's nothing he can do at Colorado that's going to affect Colorado's culture or the impact of the kids. He's going to do that right where he is, or at another HBCU. You see what I'm saying? The attack on us is coming from all facets. Let me give you an example of an attack that's right here in our backyard. I don't know if you were keeping up with the Senate hearing that involved Tennessee State's president, Dr. Glenda Glover. Did you see any of that? Or did you pay any attention to that? Okay, well, in this committee meeting, senators attacked her. Initially because of the lack of housing that Tennessee State could provide to students that record number of students attended this year. And a lot of that got to do with your coach. You see what I'm saying? A lot of that got to do with George Floyd and we on TV all last year, and these kids saw that and liked that. You understand what I'm saying? You ban everything. So there's a difference between having the right to an education and having the right to housing. And that sounds crazy, but what I mean is if you apply and you meet the standards, you can't turn them down. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So what happens is you brought in too many students that you can house, so you got them in hotels, you got them in apartments that you rented out. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I can understand why those students and the parents of those students will be mad, but also understand that they brought her in this committee to fuss at her about this, and also kind of threatened to remove her because of it. And but that was the surface level reason. That wasn't the real reason. Because when, number one, let's look at this. Do you know that the state of Tennessee owes Tennessee State $500 million that they haven't paid over the years? If they will hand that $500 million over, they can build some more dorms. Why aren't you talking about that? Now, I do understand that she's in a precarious position when she's in here.
They owe them $500 million?
Absolutely, and it's like that in every state where you got a state-funded HBCU. They haven't been paying it. and who gonna make them? You understand what I'm saying? So if you had if you look at that in equity in pay, how many more dorms could you build with that kind of money?
Wow.
And that's what we need to be talking about. But the real reason is, and if you don't really study it and look into it, man, it'll go right over your head and you won't understand it. I've even heard black people in the last week or two attacking her because, man, that's a shame. They bringing in all them students, ain't got nowhere to put them. They don't know that the state owed them $500 million. You see what I'm saying? They also never listened to this committee hearing, or they would understood real quick what the reason for bringing her in here was. And guess why? It ain't because they getting complaints from parents that they child is being housed in a hotel or an apartment. Guess what the real reason was?
What's that?
These are students that UT Martin usually gets. These are students that over the years UTC has been getting, University of Chattanooga, Austin Peay. And now we want to know why these Negroes are coming to Tennessee State, because guess what? We get funding based on the number of minority students we get. You understand what I'm saying? Now check this out real quick. Can't make this shit up. Let me tell you what a senator asked her. Now this is during the Tennessee Senate committee that we talking about, and basically initially it was to bring her in there and explain why you accepted this exceptionally high student freshman rate when you knew you didn't have the housing to provide for them. Now, keep in mind, you might not have had it on campus, but you got it done. You know what I'm saying? They live in, so they got a roof over the house somewhere. They ain't going to let them go without that. But you acted like this was the problem, and then when you listen to the guy, Senator Todd, I'm trying to pronounce his name, Garton Hare, or something like that. Mr. Garton Hare, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name right. But this is what he said. I'm gonna read his words because I thought I'd get in trouble if I played the actual thing. Didn't really know how that worked. But this is what he says. When we go to the chancellor at the University of Chattanooga and say, why aren't you recruiting more black students? The University of Chattanooga responds by telling us they all going to Tennessee State. So are we doing a disservice to our other universities from trying to recruit African-American students and minority students because you have made such an aggressive marketing campaign that these African-American students are bypassing white universities that they could get the same education that they would get at Tennessee State? He goes on to say that, I'm trying to understand in my mind why these qualified African-American students are choosing Tennessee State over the University of Chattanooga. All of a sudden, 2,000 African-American students out of the blue, no pun intended, this is his words. He said 2,000 African-American students out of the blue, no pun intended. Why did they come to Tennessee State? Why is your marketing campaign so aggressive in black communities where potential black students, qualified black students, are living? She had to interrupt him. She interrupts him here, and she says, why they, to his question, why they choosing Tennessee State over the white schools where they could get the same education? She says, it was the high standard of education that they knew they were going to get. And it's the reputation of the folks that came before them that went here and the folks that are here now. Now, the question I have is, why isn't it a good thing that the enrollment is going up? And number two, what you're really trying to say is that few number of African Americans enrolling in our schools at UT Martin, at Austin Peay, at the University of Chattanooga, at MTSU, we got money for that, for being diverse, for being inclusive. You see what I'm saying? And now you taking them students just coming back home. Where were you when we needed to create a Tennessee State because you wouldn't allow those students in, right? Here's the real question that they need to ask Mr. Garton Hare. Has he ever brought the president of the University of Tennessee into the committee room and asked him, why are all these white students bypassing Tennessee State to go here? Would he ever ask that question? And why not? You see what I'm saying? That's the attack on black colleges. It's okay if you're in the corner and you got a 200 student enrollment and you ain't got nothing going on, that's fine. But when you start to mess with their money, it's a problem. And that's what the reinsurgence or the renaissance of this HBCU modern context has done. It has messed with their money. Every time you see a North Carolina A&T who they fined $2 million, by the way, by bringing in more students that they were allocated for, just think about that. Would they ever do that to a Vanderbilt? But anyway, every time you see a North Carolina A&T or a South Carolina State on ESPN, guess who ain't on ESPN? You see what I'm saying? And they only put you on there if the product is what people want to see.
Right.
So in every aspect, not only the football field, not only the classroom, housing, not forking over funding that will provide adequate housing on campus. Instead of doing that, you attack them for bringing in the students that qualify and want to go there and finding other means of housing them. You see what I'm saying? The attack is ever present. It never ended. It's been here since 1830-something when Cheney University was started, the first HBCU. And the question that you have to ask yourself is either it's a fight that you want to get in, or just ignore it. Because here's the real reason. How many black people that went to HBCUs do you hear always promoting HBCUs? You hear a lot of them, right? And they supposed to, right? But how many of them put their money where their mouth is?
Right.
Because here's the thing that you need to know before we get out of here. It's all about infrastructure. And you hear about black people saying we want a town of our own, or we want these amount of states to run for ourselves where they black owned. Can you run a town? What happens if an earthquake tear up all your bridges? What happens when you get to town, the lights gonna be on? What happens when they malfunction? Do you have the qualified people? Let me tell you something that's embarrassing to talk about when you talk about Nelson Mandela that nobody want to touch. You have this man, a legendary, revered figure, right? That sat in jail for almost 30 years. Is he qualified to run your state, your country? Just think about this now. When he went to prison, there wasn't no television. He get out of prison, it's the internet. Come on now. You haven't produced anybody qualified that you got to rely on legends from the past. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense? So when he take over the town, the same people that put him in prison, the same people you fighting over, guess who he calling on the phone to come help him run the town? Because he don't know how. You see what I'm saying? It ain't his fault they ain't allowed you to. But in this time that you had, how much time have we had since 1834 or 1865 to get this thing together, and we haven't? Basically what I'm saying, sum it up like this. It's 107 HBCUs left in this country.
107.
107. Now, how many students would you guesstimate go to those schools? Just guesstimate. Give me a number.
All of them together?
Mm-hmm.
I would say for
best guess.
Best guess?
Mm-hmm.
107 times. I would say maybe out of all of them together, maybe a little bit over 90,000.
Well, not that low. 230,000.
230,000.
But the reason I asked when I posed that question to the average HBCU alum, the answer is like 3 or 4 million. Hell no, ain't but 230,000 students feeling that 100.
Well, you know why I said that, because our school at Lane.
Yeah. But when you add them all together, 230,000, that ain't even 500,000. And as I just explained, we can't house all them.
Right.
So there's 1.6 million African American students at PWIs. And we keep trying to get them to come back home without making home better. If just 10% of 1.6 million African American students that go to white schools came to black schools, it would destroy the infrastructure. You ain't gonna have no place to put them. The plumbing gonna mess up. You gonna blow the circuits on the air conditioning or something and the heating. When you ain't ready for them. What have you been doing? What you have to do is be accountable yourself. And somebody like a Deion Sanders who came and walked up in there and is used to things being a certain way, he said, hey, man, this shit crazy, man. How y'all been It's because you accept it. When they bring you before them committees and hammer down on you because you got more students than you can house, hammer back like, where our $500 million at? Give us that money, we'll make this infrastructure better. But you can't put the cart before your horse. Just something to think about. You know what I'm saying? Another thing in terms of looking at something different than you've always looked at it. One of his sales pitches to getting people to improve things around the campus was you can't go to the hood and take a kid out of the hood and bring him to the hood. Because the second he get a recruiting trip where it look like Bel Air, what's going to happen?
You going to Bel Air.
That's our fault. Let's improve this stuff. Another thing, the man gave half his salary to improving the football complex. You shouldn't have to do that, man. Like, God damn. Like, I can understand him bringing it to your attention. And there's some kind of way you can get that done. So a man will get tired of doing stuff like that now. You understand what I'm saying? You got to appreciate what you got when you got it. And sometimes just the effort, like, hey, don't do that. We'll find a way. I know it ain't $5 million, but hit 90,000 is a bone. We in uncharted territory. We ain't used to somebody. They didn't, at the time we had Eddie Robinson, greatest thing since sliced bread, they would not hire him at their schools. They give him a position coach. But one thing I can say about them, and I can tell you, Gordon, Chasm, Robinson, a lot of them were offered jobs at white schools as the offensive coordinator. And it paid more than the head coaching job. But my ego, my pride tells me I ain't coming up there unless I'm going to run the whole thing. And I really don't want to come up there. So I just stay right here. It works both ways. But you see what I'm saying? In order to improve things, you got to be there fighting to do it. And it's one thing to talk a good game. We sure do that. But in reality, how much are we doing our part to improve it? Because one day he going to be gone. You know, he ain't Jesus Christ now. Whether it's for another job or whether the clear blue yonder calling. What you going to do then? You done got used to the taste of caviar, but what you going to do to keep that going when your meal ticket gone? You understand what I'm saying? That's my 2 cents on it. And I probably made some folks mad, but that is what it is. And one thing I don't worry about is what I can't control. You understand what I'm saying? I was sitting in the middle of a tornado with my roommate, and the roof flew off and the door flew off. A cat flew in the thing, and I felt the second story slam down onto the ground level. And it's the weirdest thing ever because it was soft as a pillow. I just can't understand. I'm an actual scientist why that felt like that. It didn't feel like you would think it felt. I done fell off the bed harder than we crashed down. And my roommate, I ain't gonna say his name, he probably watching. He was running around screaming, yelling, crying. And he said, "Pope, what's the matter? You ain't scared?" I said, "Bro, we finna die. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Sit down and die with some dignity." You know what I'm saying? I don't worry about, I can't fight this tornado, man. I'm gonna die with a man's look on my face. I ain't finna die looking like a you know what. But anyway, you got anything left, bro?
That's it, brother.
All right, man. We'll see y'all next week. Don't know what we're gonna talk about, but it's gonna be blackity black black. So in the words of the great Harriet Tubman, we out.